Wednesday Rat Saw God album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest album from Wednesday, North Carolina based indie rock band who have been at it for a few years now. They started turning some heads with albums like Yep, Definitely, and I was trying to describe you to someone, and my thoughts on these early albums from Wednesday were, they were fine. I mean, they blended indie rock with, a good helping of shoegaze and most importantly, alternative country. But my issue with these two albums was when we got to some of the jammier moments, the weirder moments, the less straightforward moments, I kind of lost focus. I thought that they were on the right path, but I didn't think that they had fleshed out their sound enough. However, with 2021's Twin Plagues, they completely shut my mouth, especially on that account, as they upped the game all around. This album had all the elements of their early work, but turned up to 11. The songwriting was better. I felt like the songs were more passionate, and I felt like all around they had a much more unique sound this time around. They also dropped a solid covers album last year, the Mowing the Leaves instead of Piling Them Up, and my thoughts on the album are just about my thoughts on the majority of cover albums these days. I mean, Jesus, when this album was bad, it was pretty piss poor. But the Drive-By Truckers, Greg Sage, and Smashing Pumpkins covers on this album, among others, definitely make it worth a listen. It's got some great tracks on there. Now, leading up to this album, I said to myself, it's been a long time since I really enjoyed a straightforward indie rock album. And leading up to this thing, I was hearing a lot of the singles they were dropping, and they were monstrous. And I don't know if I'm just in a good mood. I don't know if I'm just feeling, a little extra giving lately, but this week's been really fruitful, my friend, because this album's awesome. This album starts off with Hot Grass Smell, and honestly, it's a really great intro. It's very short, it's very sweet, but it really ushers you into the sound of this album wonderfully. It's got the visual lyrics that I love from the band, but it's also got that grit to it. It's got that grungy riff to it. It's fantastic. It's pretty rowdy too, and it really does hype you up for the rest of this album, especially because we have an 8-minute progressive alternative country journey coming our way in Bull Believer, and yeah, it's awesome. This track takes the usual Wednesday sound and bumping it up on all levels into an 8-minute, really ambitious track that just hits the spot. It's burning with passion. Every crashing guitar breakdown just amps me up. It's rowdy as hell, too. Like, these guitars just seem completely untamed. And you know what? This is more than just a chaotic, amped-up alternative country rager. No, this really feels like genuinely progressive, like a journey. From the dreamy verses to the crashing chorus, it really does keep you on your toes. And I love how chaotic and heavy it gets towards the end. This is a really great track because it sums up everything great about this band and wraps it up in 8.5 minutes. It's a journey. It may not be for everybody, but I think it's awesome. Got Shocked is a little bit more stripped down. It's got that gnarly alt-country flavor. And you know what? I'm just going to say it. This may actually be a great jumping in point for the album. It's got that wiry riff, that grungy nature to it, and just a ton of heartfelt passion. This, I'm not just talking about this flavor of indie. When it comes to any, genre, subgenre of indie rock, modern indie, this is exactly what I look for, and it's great. If you weren't already hip to the band Wednesday, they absolutely put you on notice with this album. And they did blow it out of the water. They put out, with this album, one of the best indie rock albums I've heard in a while. But they came so close, but there are a few tracks here that I just can't get with. Like Formula One, for example. This track is a much dreamier ballad. We get the shoegaze elements here. And definitely get your tissues ready. It's certainly a tearjerker, and I appreciate that. But it's also one of the more one-dimensional tunes here. Yeah, it's very pretty, very heartfelt from a distance, but I don't know, this is not the complete package. It's also on the shorter side, just sounds a little incomplete, and the passion is not nearly as strong as on other tracks here. And I feel bad saying it, but I have a lot of the same feelings on Turkey Vultures as well. This track isn't the worst sin committed here. The songwriting is fine, the passion is certainly back. I'm not really into the vocals on this track at all. As a matter of fact, they're some of my least favorite on this entire album. That's the problem. I mean, when this track's instrumental just gets, as quiet as it does here, a lot of other things just kind of rear its ugly face, and this track just doesn't do it for me. Even when things pick up in the second half, the riff just does not seem up to snuff. There's a disconnect on this track. Outside of that, though, if you didn't know who Wednesday was already, you most certainly do now. I mean, if I had to choose one track here that hit me the absolute hardest, it's Chosen to Deserve. I think this is the best track here. It's sunny, it's got that triumphant riff, it's just so freaking likable. Verses are just feel good and breezy. The hook is so big, and the storytelling on this track, it's fantastic. They do reference them drive-by truckers, one of the all-time greats on this album, but it is very clear listening to tracks like this that they definitely went to the songwriting school of Cooley Hood and absolutely Jason Isbell. Bath County, on the other hand, of all the tracks here, is the biggest pressure cooker tune. This is a slow-burning track, which is an immense amount of passion and heart. I mean, it's not the heaviest thing in the world, but it just sounds like it's going to explode in all its quietly powerful goodness. Quarry, on the other hand, is a very breezy, alt-rock inspired ballad that's just perfect for a lazy Sunday. It's just as impassioned as the rest of this album, and I swear, every hook on this album, almost every single hook is just a driving on the road, freaking windows down, belted out classic. But this album has a lot more going for it. I think it's very rewarding. Yes, from a distance, it's very instantaneous. It's easy to sink your teeth into. You could pick this up and get into it very easily, but with each re-listen, you just get rewarded with more storytelling details and more. And it warms my heart. So does What's So Funny. I mean, I've been pretty harsh on some of the ballads and softer tunes here, but this one right here is freaking cool, man. This is a slow, hazy, almost psychedelic-inspired shoegaze tune. It's bluesy, it's tragic, and it's pretty damn dark and depressive at times. I just love this track all around, and I've heard the grunge label thrown around quite a bit on reviews of this album, and I have to agree, it doesn't get much grungier than this track here. And I think that TV in the Gas Pump is just a fantastic finale to this album. I've loved it since it dropped as a single. It's angsty, it's got some grit to it, it's pretty sharply wrote as well. I love the jagged riff and the sugary sweet vocals. It's not the most impactful track here, but I feel like this is a great finale to this album. It just takes up all the themes and a lot of the sounds of this album, wraps it up with a little bow. It's a really, really well done album overall. And yes, they have been picking up steam lately, but if they hadn't already kind of arrived, they've certainly freaking arrived with this album. This is a very, very impressive indie rock and all country release. The songwriting's great, and you're not going to hear much more better heart and passion than what you're going to hear on this album, especially going into the summer. Feeling a very decent 8. Wow, it's been a really great week. Yeah, it's been a good week. Good week. But let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.